taking the time. So, real quick, just to give you a quick rundown, we're going to go through your status as a phenomenal internet celebrity and the image that you've kind of crafted. And then we're going to kind of go into firearms since I'm in the Army, so we love guns. And then I figured we'd talk about your exciting new project, Freedom Coin.
Well, the Freedom Coin, I dropped that project. I have a distributed exchange now, which violates every rule that the IRS and the Securities Exchange Commission have imposed. And it's an exchange that can't ever be shut down. I'll probably never be able to come out of hiding now. But no, so I decided that would be a better thing for people.
Okay. And then we'll finish up with your 2020 run.
You bet.
All right. Well, let me give everybody a quick little introduction, and we'll get this going.
All right, let's do it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the After Action Review. You guys know me as the world's most okayest Green Beret. I'm Nick Guy. Joining me today, I can't believe it, John McAfee. International man of the high seas, wanted by intelligence agencies and law enforcement, doing his own thing. You guys know him for his work. Well, everybody knows McAfee software, but you've moved beyond. So you now know him as a man who enjoys the finer things in life and embodies the libertarian spirit. Mr. McAfee, thanks for joining us.
Wow, that was an astonishing introduction. Thank you. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to live up to any of that.
Oh no, I have high hopes. All right, so
I'd like to start this off by
sure.
You and I were talking just briefly before you hit record, and you had said, I'm a man who loves guns, like yourself. I don't love guns any more than I love my hiking boots. Right? Guns for me are simply a necessary tool for my own survival. I mean, in the circumstances I have found myself in, more than once had I not had a weapon, I may not be here now. So no, I don't love guns.
Okay.
I respect guns. I treat them with the utmost caution and safety measures. But even at my age, at 74, if anybody out there thinks you can outdraw me, or outshoot me, no, that isn't going to happen.
Okay, that's fair.
All right.
Now, you made some Twitter waves back in the summer when you posted a couple of photos on the cockpit of a motor yacht with some ARs. I don't know exactly what it was. And everybody was wondering, is this real? Is it staged? And then I took another look at the photos, and there's brass on the cockpit floor. So you're so
I didn't notice that, but no, you have to believe me. I do not need to stage a photo with weapons, for heaven's sake.
Oh man!
And that weapon, by the way, that you thought was an AR-15 was actually a German make, a special manufacturer with a binary trigger. If those of you who don't know what a binary trigger is, they're the most fun triggers in the world because when you squeeze the trigger, not pull, you never pull a trigger. When you squeeze the trigger, it fires. When you release the pressure, it fires. And so you've got this bang bang for every trigger pull. Anyway, a lot of fun.
Man, I think everybody takes a look at your persona, and I'll be surprised. I'm shocked that it was a binary trigger. For whatever reason, I was like, listen, John McAfee, he's out on the high seas. He's being chased by CIA assassins. That's got to be an NFA item. But confirmation from the man himself.
Well, let me tell you, if they were fake, then the following day, when we pulled into the Dominican Republic and were immediately surrounded by a Dominican Republic Special Forces unit with fully automatic weapons that did not let us even speak to customs, let alone declare anything. And we had all of our weapons out on the table, unchambered, everything the way it should be. All the ammo counted and so on. But no, they didn't let us do that. We were arrested on the spot for bringing illegal weapons into the Dominican Republic without declaring them. Now, if they were fake weapons, then I don't know, that would have been even stranger than it was.
So, highly publicized detention by the Dominicans for
Yes.
4 days, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Let me tell you something. 4 days in a Dominican Republic jail where there are no glass windows and the iron bars are rusted from years of total, no one cares. And the facilities are substandard, even for a Tijuana jail. 4 days is a long time.
Don't doubt it. So, I mean, but the question that begs to be asked is this part of a wider plot with your? And I'm just going to use a word that I'm not a journalist, but I'm going to use a word that journalists use: storied potential criminal past. I mean, from where you're standing, the 4 days was highly publicized. I believe you went on record saying this is part of the larger picture with the allegations
I'll
leveled
paint that
against
for
you.
you sometime if you ask. I'd be happy to paint that larger picture. Because that larger picture is fascinating beyond belief. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I mean, please. I mean, when I told everybody that I had John McAfee on, you're a fascinating individual. So my thought process is, let's just let him talk, because that's going to make, one, great entertainment, but two, I mean, let's hear the story. Everybody gets little bits and pieces. So if you don't mind, give me just a 30,000 foot looking down, brief rundown of what started all of this. What led to the John McAfee in exile?
To be frank with you, when I was 11 years old, when I rebelled against my parents and the school and everything else, I refused to accept the world that other people show me. I want to find out myself. Sure, you can tell me stories and tell me what I should and shouldn't do. Don't fall into this pit and avoid that. Depending on who you talk to, if you're talking to your religious grandmother, it's stay away from girls. So on. So, in any case, I've been a rebel, and that rebel changed into a commentator. Okay, as I got older, I'm 74 now. Not much rebellion is in me. However, I refuse to shut up about what I see is true about America and the world. And what's really happening. So what's really happening, people, is this. I know for a fact that it is the CIA behind the curtain in America that's controlling America. And 90% of the world, the CIA is the most powerful organization ever created. I've worked with them. They were my biggest contractor when I first started McAfee. I have friends in the CIA. The CIA is a divided world now. I have friends that call me from the CIA and say, hey, look, this is about to happen. And then others that are trying to catch me. It's a crazy, insane organization. Now, for the past, 15 years, the government has left me alone. I mean, I've had minor incidences like in Belize. I was chased by the army for a month and a half and they tried to shoot me and minor shit like that.
Yeah.
Got arrested and spent a month and a half in a Guatemalan prison. And by the way, far better than the Dominican Republic prison. If for those of you out there who would like a jail experience, I mean, I think everybody should have one. Do not choose the Dominican Republic. And even Guatemala, which is like the Guatemala is sort of like the Ritz-Carlton compared to the Holiday Inn for the Dominican Republic. America, oh, fuck me. I mean, you're living in the White House in the jail there. They feed you, for fuck's sake. And you have more or less, heat and cooling, mostly cooling to keep the disease down. Anyway, I'm off track. Now, so they left me alone. And on January 22nd, I got notification from my insiders that the IRS was going to convene a grand jury and charge myself, my wife, and 4 of my staff with unspecified felonies of tax-related nature. Well, I haven't filed taxes in 10 years, and for 10 years, I've been writing them a note every year going, listen, I'm not filing, you know where I live. And they didn't bother me. When I started talking about cryptocurrency and how you could avoid paying taxes and free yourself from government financial control through privacy coins and distributed exchanges. Well, shit, when I started doing that, all hell broke loose. And it ended up with this grand jury. Now, I left the country a few days before with Janice and my staff, including the people who remained, because once they got me in jail, I'd never see the light of day. They just want to shut me up. You know, I have no money to give them. They just want to shut me up. But we left the country, went to the Bahamas. Why? Bahamas has no income tax, and therefore I could not be extradited. You may only, according to international treaty, be extradited for crimes that are crimes in the country they're trying to extradite you from. So, hey, I'm safe there. They have no income tax, not paying it, not a crime. However, I got wind that the CIA was trying to collect me illegally through the local commissioner of police, a guy named Paul Roll, who I fought back and outed immediately because I know what's happening in the world for all of the financial crimes he had committed. And I gave his bank account number and bank name and every fucking deposit and from where. He sent a SWAT team after me. I got wind of that. Janice and I and our staff left in the middle of the night, went to Cuba. The following day, Paul Roll, it was in the headlines in all the Caribbean newspapers, Paul Roll was going to file suit against John McAfee for defamation of character. So he couldn't lay hands on me. But he was working on behalf of the CIA. We go to Cuba. We're there for a month and a half. Janice and I are called in by the Cuban government. The general comes in and says, Mr. McAfee, we know that you're trying to help the Cuban people, but the American government has asked that we return you to America. We would prefer, Mr. McAfee, if you simply left our country within 72 hours. And so we left. We got our boat ready, man. And every day, twice a day, Army personnel would come by and very gently say, are you still leaving, sir? And in 31 hours. I go, yes, please do not worry. If I have to swim to the Bahamas from here, I will leave. So we got out. That's when we were headed to the Dominican Republic. So the CIA tried to grab me in the Bahamas. My network of information. I'm John McAfee. I really am the guy that invented computer security. And if I want to know something, and there is an electronic element of it anywhere, I will find out. So I know these things in advance. So I got thrown out of the Bahamas, thrown out of Cuba. My sources told me my best bet was the Dominican Republic. But as soon as you arrived in the Dominican Republic, we were surrounded by soldiers before we could even check in. And the Dominican Republic said exactly what everybody said. You have to go back to America, Mr. McAfee. I got a couple of lawyers who filed a brief with the courts of the Dominican Republic saying that I could not be deported unless I had my day in court. Well, if I had my day in court, everything would have come unraveled for them. I mean, they charged me with a crime which they prevented me from not committing. So, that was interesting at the airport. So here it is. So they're about to deport us. They've already got Janice, and Janice is pissed as hell. Janice is sitting next to me right now because she doesn't like her. They're sending her to America. They got her on her way before she leaves. First of all, tell the lawyers to do this. They said it's going to take 2 hours. I go, don't worry, you got your 2 hours. I will throw over to Janice before they take her, and I say, don't panic. Everything's cool. I then went back, fell on my face on the floor, and faked the stroke. So I couldn't recognize anybody and so on and so forth. They finally let Janice come back. So they had to send me to the hospital. I needed 2 hours, you understand, before they could put me out of the country. Before they could throw me out of the hospital, because the doctors all said, there's nothing, Miss McAfee, there's nothing wrong with you. We have no reason to keep you here. And about that time, the lawyers came in with the paperwork. And then the next thing you know, Janice and I are in London. And that's the last place we have told anyone, including her family and her friends, where we are. I mean, I need a break from the fucking CIA for just a little while, people.
So
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that was so long. I didn't mean to bore you with it.
No, and honestly, I think the problem is that I don't need to tell you the way the American media machine operates. I don't. You know.
Yeah, you don't. That's
so
correct.
We get these little snippets. So I really wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. So I appreciate that. Going back,
yeah, and that's just a very condensed story, but that's sort of the highlights of the shit we've been through since we left the country on the 18th of January of this year.
Okay, so kind of going there, kind of circling back. Started off as a rebellious young man. You create an empire. You see, the way income tax works. You see an inequality, and now we have the ideal libertarian in John McAfee. Correct?
Well, no, I don't think so, sir. Because the ideal libertarian is one that would actually do a good job in the office and one who actually wants that job. Neither one of those are me. They're not me. As far as the income tax is concerned, these people wake up to the following. We're living in a feudal society. We returned to a feudal society in 1913 when the government, the king, the owner of us, decided to take from the fruits of our labor a certain percentage. That's what feudal society is. The king would send his representatives out, each year, many of them armed with swords and things, and say, you grew 1,000 potatoes last year. Okay, we're taking 250 of them right now. Thank you. That's feudal society, where the fruits of your labor were owned by somebody else. And the U.S. government is assuming, well, I'm only going to own 20% of it. So it's not like I own you, is it now? No, they fucking own you people. Wake up to this truth.
So the whole idea of John McAfee, libertarian, might only work on a very surface level if you take a look at it in a very vapid way. Now, and I see what you're saying. So you see this injustice. Income tax is slavery. That's what it is.
Slavery.
It's indentured servitude.
And it's theft. Is it slavery or theft? What's the difference? If you control someone enough to steal from them in front of their eyes and the eyes of everyone else, then you're a slave. Do you understand? And this is what we have become.
So taking that mindset and applying it beyond just politics as usual, or even what the Libertarian Party of the United States of America might use as official party platform, you have gone on record and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to use the word praising, but you did tweet out you tweeted out a warning that if if you hadn't read the personal journal of Che Guevara, you should stop talking about this. And now hearing this, I see, okay, possibly whatever the Libertarian Party of America is doing isn't enough. And I'm starting to see like this, like the very germs of this revolutionary spirit. So you tweeted out praise for Che Guevara. You have this very libertarian-esque leaning. How do you come to terms with singing the praise of somebody who embodied statism and this libertarian political persona that you have?
Well, first and foremost, how many of you have actually read all of Che's writings? And how many of you read all of the writings from major thinkers about Che? Well, if you haven't done at least one of those things, then please, people, you've got no business opening your mouth. Because what you know about Che Guevara is what you hear from our political machine, our propaganda as disseminated through the mainstream media into the sheep's ears, even while we sleep. And so, please, God, people, please, before you judge anything about that man, I want you to find out something about it, not what capitalistic ideology says about him, but who was he? He was a rebel, and he was brave, and he knew what he was risking. And he was trying to free the people. He was not a political ideologist, God's sake, no. He saw poor people starving and rich people throwing out $1,000 bottles of wine.
So I'm gonna approach this topic as a political science nerd. That's what my degree's in, and I did a lot of political reading. So I have read Che. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the most poignant quotations from Che that he delivered either in his diaries or speeches or interviews, and I'd like your comments on them, just because I am trying to kind of bridge this gap between.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah. So
no
like John McAfee, money.
I have a nerd degree too. I even went to grad school. I got a nerd plus degree. But anyway, so we're fire away, my friend.
All right. So 1962, he wrote a manifesto called Revolution, and he writes, "We executed many people by firing squad without knowing if they were found guilty. At times, the revolution cannot stop to conduct much investigation." So, with that quote read, as somebody who has faced injustice and has not received due process by the United States government, how do you come to terms with a belief such as this? Somebody who blatantly disagrees with due process.
No, he doesn't. Please, God, I can't believe, sir, that you're asking such a naive question. Why don't you put on some documentaries of World War II, World War I, or any world war or even small war? Warfare, people, is not natural, normal, human relations. It is a relationship of necessity that you survive and the other does not. And if you're grabbing something from a journal, and his entire fucking life was a revolution, a war, people, and you're going to judge him on that, then you're going to have to put George Patton, Dwight Eisenhower, every major general and world leader at that same trial. Please, people, wake the fuck up.
And that's,
don't be naive. You are believing, sir, propaganda that was fed to you from the time you were old enough to read and listen and understand words. And anything alien to the democratic capitalistic process, you're not going to like. And Che is one of those. But if you if that's the only thing you're going to judge on, please, God, sir, you must judge every warrior ever in the history of warfare. Please, God, let's have a better question than that, can we?
Well, I think
I'll put my glasses back on now. I'm sorry.
Well, I think, well, one, just from my background, I would disagree in saying that warfare isn't natural. I think warfare is the purest expression of humanism, and it's just the natural conclusion of failed politics, which for millennia has been the status quo. And I get what you say by let's take things in totality and judge other warriors by the same standard. But if I don't, this is kind of where I come from. I'm okay with judging in totality, and I'm okay with saying no to any sort of government-run information operations campaign. I understand how that works. But if we take a look at his writings, at his speeches, and I'm not saying let's take what what Cuban exiles say. Let's take what the government of the United States government of the 1960s says. But if we take a look at his words, and if somebody with a disdain for a free press, somebody with disdain for due process, I understand, and after hearing your story, I understand where you're coming from with this revolutionary germ that's sprouted up in you, and how you could identify with a character like Che Guevara. But at the end of the day, when it's his words and his actions, and I'm not even going to get into body counts or whatnot, because I'm not, because there's wildly varying numbers, and I have a feeling that you and I would fundamentally disagree on the validity of each of those sources. But
no, I wouldn't. I would probably agree totally with that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, my friend, if what he wrote was something that puts people off, then please, God, you realize that it was Truman who pushed a button that eradicated 250,000 people in one single blast in Nagasaki, where no military people were killed, no military machines were destroyed, no tanks, no bombers, no nothing, just humans, civilians. And you're going to point a fucking finger at Che Guevara, who's in the same situation, surviving a war with an absolute horrific totalitarian leader of Cuba, and you're going to say his writings show him to be a strange man? Fuck no.
Well, no, I'm not saying he's going to be a strange man, but
no, or different than any other man in those circumstances, my friend. Look at George Patton. Look at every single leader in Europe during World War II that shot their prisoners rather than giving them due process.
There's no building. Hold on. So I have never come across a lawful order delivered by George Patton to execute prisoners. So
of course not. But it did come from some high-ranking officer in the ranks that George Patton did not discipline because he made the right decision. It's war, for fuck's sake, people.
But all through Belgium, though, all through Belgium, Patton's army took prisoners of war. They didn't.
You know what? We're not going to resolve this issue by
we're not
taking apart every general, every battle.
No, I'm just trying to understand how somebody that's been denied due process and has this belief.
You know, I'm sorry that you can. This is a ridiculous approach, sir. I'm just going to continue what I said. I admire him more than any other political leader since the beginning of human history. And we'll leave it at that, and you can disagree.
Okay.
But I'm not going to get into details about, please, God, sir.
No, I just wanted
to judge this man.
I just wanted your thoughts on due process.
If you have not been in the line of fire, you do not understand that due process in a war.
I have been.
Doesn't fucking. Well, then you know it doesn't fucking exist. You're a goddamn
but
Marine,
I'm not a political leader. That's the difference. Like if somebody that takes charge of a societal revolution, a political
leader because you did not choose to be one, or did not have the goal or the rationale or the need. But good God, please don't judge him because, he became a political leader. He shouldn't be thinking everybody else.
No, I judge him off of the basis that he denied due process. But that's my opinion.
I'm sorry. Then okay.
That's all right. I mean,
let's move on. Okay.
All right. So going on.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's all right. All right, so continue this trend of bridging the gap between John McAfee, the man, and John McAfee, with his political beliefs. And again, going on with this Che, going on, and you talk about being imprisoned yourself, and the Dominicans
many times,
hands down. So, Revolution Run re-education camps.
We only have time for a couple more questions.
That's okay. Yeah, I understand. You're busy. That's all right.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Political re-education camps.
Pardon?
Political re-education camps in Cuba in the 1960s. Charges such as listening to too loud of music, drinking, drug use, homosexuality. These were the tenets of Che's war against degeneracy. Somebody that, you have this persona, free-spirited, wild, and out there drinking. I'm not going to get I'm not going to get into what you do. But again, how do you come to terms with living the life that you've lived versus the things that Che Guevara viewed as degeneracy?
What you just described, the things that Che viewed as degenerate, was the attitude in America in 1964, fuck's sake. Do you realize
that's not making it right?
No, but why are you picking on him? Why is it him?
Because
I don't know why we're talking about him. Why is he
because
different
I don't
than
think
George Bush or anybody?
Homosexuality wasn't in practice criminalized in the United States. They weren't dragged. Homosexuals.
Please God, sir, will you look at the law prior to 1946 in every fucking southern state? Use your history, my friend. You're talking about just people. What's the difference between Che and any government? Between Che and any leader? There is none. The problem is us, the people, have given those leaders powers that belong to us. This is the problem. Stop blaming the leaders. Stop looking at the character of Che Guevara or Castro or Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. Fuck that. They're just puppets, all of them. All right? Wake up, America. We are the problem. We elect people who spend hundreds of millions of dollars to be president. Good God, do you see how crazy we are? Why aren't we electing people that we have to drag, kicking and screaming into that office that we know would do the best job? Like George Washington, our first president. He didn't want that fucking job. He was general of the Continental Army. That was such a fucking demotion for him. He didn't want it. He was all, I want to fish. But they made him do it because who else, people? Who else at that point, at the end of a horrific war, who else could lead this country other than a general? And he did because it was his duty, not because he was willing to spend $100 million to get a job paying $300,000. Run the numbers, people. Wake up, America. We are the problem. Che is not the problem. Trump is not the problem. Clinton is not the problem. We are the problem. We choose through our complete denial of reality those people who would worse represent us. Those who we could not find if you had a pole stretching into infinity. Who would be the worst leader for America? That's the person we will find and elect. Wake the fuck up, America. And I'm sorry, I'm out of time. And please, sir, don't take anything that I've said personally.
Never.
Personally. It says it has nothing to do with Che. It has to do, why are we worrying about any personality? That's all. Why? Fuck personalities. Look at what's happening behind the curtain and let's get America back. I grew up in the 50s, the age of unlimited American opportunity, people. You have no idea what the energy and joy of life there was, knowing you could do anything, be anybody, go anywhere. That America died somewhere between Dwight Eisenhower and today. And if we don't resuscitate that America, then you are not going to like what will happen. Thank you, sir.
Mr. McAfee, thank you. Take it or leave it, guys. That was John McAfee. I don't know exactly what to say, but certainly everybody's entitled to their opinion. I'm still having trouble coming to terms with his adoration of Che Guevara, with his personal story, if you know, with what he's gone through and everything that Che embodied and believed. That's it. Guys, thanks for stopping by. We'll be doing a regular podcast, and I'm going to be sharing my thoughts further on this once I organize them and I can rewatch and break down what Mr. McAfee had said. But I do appreciate you guys stopping by. Hopefully you learned something. That was certainly interesting. But, yep, you guys can expect to see me in a few days once I've organized my thoughts and I can discuss this interview in a far more organized manner. Thanks, guys.